Bula, Vinaka, everyone. I welcome you to another lesson for today. Today we'll be looking again at Year 13 literature, specifically short stories. Under the theme love, we have two short stories, which are Harry and the Girl Who Had Everything by Ellen Conford. My previous video, I had discussed very briefly on the main elements of the short story Harry by Rosemary Timperley, and now we will discuss on the Girl Who Had Everything. If you are new to my channel, I welcome you and I thank you for choosing to use this as your supplementary or complementary to your studies, or for you to better understand what your teacher's already given you. But if you are also been following me, I thank you for viewing this video, and I hope you have already subscribed and you will like. And once again, just comment whether you understood the notes or whether I'm doing a good job or a bad job. I welcome any comments at the moment. So without further ado, let's now discuss our short story. About the writer. Conford was born in New York City in 1942. Shy as a child, she gained a love of books while in elementary school and read up to 8 books a week. I have enjoyed writing since I was in 3rd grade. Ellen Conford's basic philosophy comes through in all her books for young people. Believe in yourself. Her stories appeal to readers who can identify with middle-class, suburban characters as they face the universal problems of childhood while being supported by loving, caring families. Conford has a light, humorous touch in plotting both her novels and picture books. Her experiences in hunting down quality books to read to her son inspired her first attempt at children's book writing, having already accumulated publishing credits by placing several poems and stories in magazines such as Reader's Digest. Following the proper course for a soon-to-be author and gaining self-confidence, Conford worked on newspaper and the yearbook and edited her high school's humor magazine. Through her work, Conford hopes to share the reading bug with others. I'm disturbed by the number of children and adults who have never experienced the joys of reading a book just for pleasure, she once explained. Therefore, I write the kinds of books for children and teenagers that I like to read at their age. Books meant purely to entertain, to amuse, to divert. I feel that I am competing with a television set for a child's mind and attention. And if I receive a letter that says, I never used to like to read until I read one of your books and now I really enjoy reading, I feel I've won a great victory. A child who discovers that reading can be pleasurable may become an educated, literate, well-informed adult. I like to think I'm doing what I can to help the cause. So that is just a very brief biodata of our author. As you can see that she enjoys reading and writing, and it can also be a challenge to those of us who love to read to pen some of the thoughts. Now, I once read, I'm not sure who said this, whether it was Stephen King or another famous author. He had once said that there wasn't enough books that he liked to read. That's why he started writing. So if you feel that the literature that we are reading in high school or out of high school, the books that you pick up at the library are not what is to your taste, then you can pen your own work. Now let's look at the setting and background of our story. Once again, our setting and background are two different things, but mean the same thing. They work off each other. The setting is the physical place where the story takes place, and the background, as the word says, is what's happening at the time. So it could be a religious activity, or it could be a political movement at the time that does influence the turn of events in the story. There is little description of any physical settings used in the story. The story is set mostly around an American school and at Paul's home. The activities are focused around the college, for example, cheerleading, basketball, parties, etc. The American culture of having senior prom has been mentioned. In the senior prom, The custom is that a boy is expected to invite a girl to accompany him to the prom. Even senior high school boys, such as Paul, are allowed to throw a party at his place while inviting all his friends. So this is like American culture where they have a prom and then they're very young teenagers. And if you are um, if you are familiar with American pop culture, you would see countless movies where they have, especially high school movies, where they have prom and there's a guy that acts as a girl. So that is our setting and our background for our story. So it's can be very generic to any American setting. The plot or synopsis of our story. The narrator of the story is Diane's friend, who describes how lucky Diane has been. Ever since Diane had been a child, she has been getting whatever she wanted. She was the only child, so her well-off parents fulfilled all her wishes. Even in school, she was liked by all, especially the boys. However, when she became more popular, she started to take things for granted. For instance, she did not keep any boyfriend for long. She expected life to provide her things that she had always been getting. She even kept the narrator as a friend just to share her thoughts, not being a true friend. So she was all about herself, always wanted to talk about herself. So her friend was more of a follower. She wasn't expected to think on her own. Diane had to be the star of her own show. Now things begin to change for her when her new boyfriend, Paul, invited her for a party at his friend's house. During the party, Diane was as usual getting everyone's attention. But when she returned from the bathroom, she saw Paul with another girl, Miranda Hull. Ever since Paul left her, Diane is upset that he is seeing a girl like Miranda. Just a deeper explanation. Now, Diane is a girl that doesn't go out with a boy for a very long period of time. But this becomes very different when it came to Paul. She dated him longer than most of her other boyfriends, so he was different. But then it really upset her when Paul left her, like gave her taste of her own medicine by being attracted to a girl like she had said, like Miranda House. So someone who is not as popular, someone who is mousy or dull looking in her explanation. But the narrator says otherwise. Now, my explanation to these notes, I'm assuming you've already read the story. So this is just a refresher. I'm just discussing the notes. Now we'll move on to the themes of our story. Here are some themes. Please be critical to derive other themes. So basically that means these are the themes that are suggested to you, but you are most welcome to derive your own themes from your own experiences through your reading. That's the beauty of literature. The first one is conditioned love. Some use it to suit their habits. Diane has been seen changing boyfriends and crushing so many people's feelings. Perhaps she is in search of true love. However, her policy of leaving boyfriends before 3 weeks makes it difficult for her to fully realize what she wants and who her true love could be. Part of this package is the narrator. Diane is keeping the narrator as a friend for her convenience. So she just wants her around to just feed her ego, like to make her feel better about herself. She sees the narrator as someone who is easily available, does not pass judgments, and someone who will listen to her when she talks. So basically, Diane likes to talk about herself, and when no one interjects or interrupts her, she would rather be in their company, and the narrator is a perfect friend for her. Paul is also like her. So once again, if you've never heard of that expression, opposites attract, meaning you have to have opposite personalities, you're able to work well and you're able to last longer in a relationship. So when two people of the same personalities join together as a couple or are around each other, it won't last. So Paul is just like Diane. So they have probably the same personalities. He is seen as the only one talking when he was with Miranda Hull. So once again, like Diane, he likes to talk about himself. Every once in a while, she'd nod or smile or tilt her head questioningly. So that would be something that Diane never once did that to Paul, but as far as I could tell, she hardly said a word. It is obvious that Paul wants to keep a girlfriend who is willing to listen to his talk. So that's someone that is not Diane. So that is what you mean by conditioned love. There is conditions towards their loving someone, and that is a classic example for a Diane. For her, the conditions for loving her or to be loved by her, you are to be able to listen to whatever she says, not pass judgment, and you have to be someone who is easily available to her. So that is her conditions to loving her. Our second theme is taking your partner for granted can ruin relationships. Now, although Diane had everything, she does not appreciate the value of people around her. The narrator alludes to this after Diane dumped many boyfriends. I don't know if they were any wiser when she left them, but they certainly were sadder. Even when Diane went to Paul's party, she ignored Paul and paid more attention to other male admirers from clustering around and listening to Diane goes to the dentist and gets laughing gas. This is probably why Paul opted to be with Miranda Hull, who is attentive. Only after Paul begins to ignore her that she realizes she had really cared for him. Now pride comes before Paul. Even then she's not able to realize her faults and compares herself with Miranda, and she's such a nothing. Now, going back to the heading, taking your partner for granted can ruin relationships, Diane really did take Paul for granted. After they had broken up, she then realized that she actually liked him out of all the other boys that she dated. So, and it became even more painful for her when he left her for a girl like Miranda Hall, as she says, I quote, and she's such a nothing. So that is just something said by someone who is jealous and someone who cannot believe, as the description of Diane, she's got everything, everything's given to her, that a boy that she liked, Paul, had left her for a girl like Miranda. So, yes, it comes back to the saying, you never know what you got till it's gone. And that was unfortunately Diane had to learn at the end. But that's good. That's why we learn these short stories so we can see from other people's mistakes. You can reflect on it or you can mirror yourself from it and adjust from there, hopefully. Or just learn from Diane. Don't be like Diane, or if you are the friend, the narrator, you can be more of a better friend by telling Diane the truth, so they are not later or further humiliated in the end. Now let's move on to characters of our short story. Firstly is Diane. Although the narrator is one of the characters in the story is about Diane. It is about her and everything. Everybody is clustered around her. She represents the title of the story, which is the girl who had everything. She is the girl, Diane. From every angle, readers are seeing the proud and arrogant side of her. She is the only child of a rich family, so she is provided all the things she wanted, as a child and as a teenager. She has been described as pretty, and she realized that no man alive could resist the power of those hazel eyes. So she had really light brown eyes. From the description so far, we can see that she's very, very spoiled. She's a very spoiled little girl. Her proud and arrogant side is also noticed when she expects Paul to be exactly the same place where she had left him before going to the bathroom. And if you have read the story, she can mingle with other boys. But all the boys that she's with is supposed to be like a lapping, hungry dog at her feet. They are to obey and be drooling over her. Apart from her beauty, her ability to talk has been described as Diane was a wonderful talker, an inspired talker, a non-stop talker, who would mostly talk about herself. To the boys, her talk would be quite fascinating. Her listener hung on every word, leaning forward eagerly, mouth slightly open in wonder, eyes fixed longingly on hers. He was, in the traditional fairy tale sense of the word, chanted. So basically, Diane had this way to talk, especially to boys, and she milked it. Like she really did use that gift of hers to get the boys' attention. So this is all through the description from the narrator. Now we have our other main character, which is the narrator. Now she is a female friend of Diane. Although she is narrating the events, she plays a subordinate character to Diane. It is obvious she is neither pretty nor popular. Her curiosity about going back to this one. It is obvious she is neither pretty nor popular. And that is another characteristic of Diane. She makes friends with people who are not a threat to how popular she is. So she gets someone who is not pretty nor popular. That's why they probably get along well, because narrator lives vicariously through Diane, and Diane sees the narrator as someone who she can share all her problems with without any judgment, and is not seen as a threat to her. Moving on, her curiosity about relationship is answered by Diane, such as, what does it mean when you go with someone? What do you have to do? In a way, the narrator is living her life through the experiences and reflections of Diane. So another word for that is living vicariously. She even acts as an advisor, which most of the time Diane doesn't listen to. She is obviously jealous of Diane, but since she wanted different things in life, she was not very disappointed. She accepted the boyfriend arranged for her by Diane and Paul, but admits that it was wrong. She tried to be supportive of Diane when Paul started ignoring her. The impact of television in society has also been mentioned. Television has been identified as the main cause of relationships to break. The narrator reminds Diane about the impact of television. Haven't you read those studies where they found that kids have watched about 46,000 hours of television by the time they get to be our age? All the television watching makes for a very short attention span. Does that sound familiar? Yes. If you thought of Diane, yes, Diane is a product of watching too much television. And also, what really feeds into that notion where she has a short attention span is by her beauty, how beautiful and pretty she was, and also through lack of good judgment, also by the parents for feeding her all these things that are supposed to be protecting her from all these things. Now we look at style of writing. This is one very important element too of our short story. Now, style of writing, there are common questions that come in our external exam, and style of writing really affects the way the story is being told. Some styles of writing mentioned in our short story, the first one is effective use of conversation or dialogue. Now, the short story has many direct conversations. Do you have to let him kiss you? Of course, we're not babies anymore. You know, such conversations or dialogues between characters help make readers get a better opinion of Diane's character, that the narrator is not exaggerating her characterization. Its use also makes the story more interesting and realistic. Readers are exposed to characters in various discourses so that we have a fuller analysis of their behavior and attitude. So the evidence of these, that the characters having open dialogue and having this quoted in our short story, we are not given the sense that the narrator is exaggerating about what type of person Diane is. It's just how her replies. So of course, like those kind, we're not babies anymore. So she is someone who is trying to keep up with time and trying to not seem as childish, but in no sense of the word, she is childish. Next one is parallelism. A lot of parallel structures are used throughout the story. Example 1, Diane was a wonderful talker, an inspired talker, a non-stop talker. The second one is Diane fell in love with Arthur Dodson and Richard Weaver and Bobby Schwartz and Dennis Taliaferro and David Gordon and Alan DeMarco. Now, the use of parallelism makes readers focus more the main object, that is, Diane is a talker and has many boyfriends. Now, in some instances, parallelism makes the life of Diane sound boring and monotonous. So even though we are supposed to think that she has a very interesting life, she is very boring and very predictable. So we know she's a talker, a non-stop talker, and we know that she has a lot of boyfriends. So that's what that means by parallelism, or the fact that there is a repetition of things that are parallel to who she was as a person, Diane. Now, all this, when discussed together, all make up for how Miss Conford wrote a very beautiful short story. It talks about real life situations, especially you as a young student, and you might be going through these things or witness these things. And once again, we portray these characters, or we see these characters from the outside, and we can also see them around us and within us. So, looking at the themes, the style, the characterization, I hope you've learned something and how it is important to try and learn from these short stories. So that is just a very brief discussion about our short story. Short story, The Girl Who Had Everything by Ellen Conford. Remember, these two short stories are always to be answered together. Harry by Rosemary Timperley and The Girl Who Had Everything by Ellen Conford, under the theme love. Now later on, as we carry on with our lessons, I will also be discussing some sample essays where they will discuss both short stories under the theme love. So I thank you once again for viewing this video and reaching till the end, and all the best with your studies, and hopefully we go back to school, since this is all for my students at my current school. And I thank you for, if you're not my student, I thank you for viewing this video. Please share and like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, you can always comment below, and or you can send me a private message on any of my social media. So thank you once again for attending my class, and all the best. Vinaka.